What's up? This is Brett from Dub Academy, and today we're going to learn how to make tonal risers from scratch with Serum. So let's get into it. So I'm just going to take a blank Serum patch, just a little saw wave. Oop, let me arm my track here. Right, pretty simple, nothing too complicated with the saw wave. So I'm just going to increase this unison all the way. And then you can actually come over here to the global tab and change the detune and panning kind of pattern, right? So if you look at the detune now, just kind of gives it a more natural chorus effect, natural spread. So each voice is starting in a random space between the parameter that you set with the detune knob. So I'm actually going to control this whole thing with a macro knob. And that's these four little guys over here. So you can assign this to pretty much anything in here with this little ring available around the knob. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come over to the matrix. I'm going to pick macro 1 to affect the, under the global tab, click master tune. So nothing's going to happen until we set. I'm actually going to bring it down. I think 19 is the octave. So what's going to happen is a tonal riser is kind of playing in the key of your song, but rises throughout a build-up or some kind of phrase or something, and gets kind of wider, faster. We're going to add a bunch of different things that change this over a certain amount of time. But again, you don't have to control this with the macro. You could do this with just straight automation in Ableton. I'm just a big one knob fan. I like macros a lot. So that's why I'm going to do it here in this video. Right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this filter on. Right, and that's going to slowly increase throughout the event of the riser or whatever we're trying to make. But I'm actually going to use this first LFO to kind of start affecting this, right? So the first thing I'm thinking of is that it's synced to the beat, and I don't want that. I kind of want it to be a little bit more random. And I'm going to go ahead and take this anchor off. Right, so I'm going to take the macro, put it on the LFO rate, which is not synced to the BPM. Right? And next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to increase this rise all the way. So what that does is it delays the application of the LFO for however long you set it. So we're going to hold it for a little bit. You're going to hear just the note, and then the LFO will slowly start to affect the filter, which we have it set to. Yeah, I like that a lot. Cool. All right, so we've got this kind of effect here. I'm actually just going to increase the fat knob. It's a light saturation that it adds, just kind of makes a little bit less dynamics between the effect of the filter going up and down. I'm actually going to increase this just a hair. Cool. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add some reverb. And there's different ways that you can add, you could do this filter effect in the effects tab before or after the reverb. switch these things around, see what kind of different effects that you can get. But same thing, I'm gonna put this macro knob on the mix or the dry wet. Cool, getting there. Kind of lose the filter effect, the movement effect here with the dry wet going all the way up. Cool. Yeah, I like that a lot. Put some low cut on there so there's not so much low end in the reverb. And we'll actually maybe even decrease the decay time just a hair as we increase that macro. It's not very noticeable, but still we want to add kind of space, wideness, especially when you're mixing this with like white noise effects and all that. So just to kind of create some more stereo wideness, I'm just going to pull the hyper mix down, the dimension size down, but I'm going to put the dimension mix at 50%. So you'll really notice this, especially on like basses, more things with more mid to low frequency content. But this is just to add a little bit more stereo width. And I'm actually going to modulate that as well. Okay. Next thing I'm going to add is some phaser. I'm actually going to put that before the hyper and the dimension. Right. So another thing I'm going to modulate is the rate of the phaser. Still doesn't quite go fast enough. I'm going to increase that. Ooh, okay. Cool. Yeah, I like that a lot. Add some chorus. Again, we're trying to increase tension here, right? So cutting out the lows, higher frequency content, you want that to spread out more, to have a greater stereo image. So again, chorus, phaser, reverb, hyper, these are all things you can use to get more stereo spread on your sound, depending on how you use them. So same process with the chorus. I'm gonna do the rate. Also gonna do, see, this is a low pass. Let's put it on a high pass. So if you see this little tab like this, see how these are all blank, or they're not blank, but you can't click on the actual name here. There's things that you can change, like even with the mix on the filter, you can change that to a level. So just keep your eye out for things like that. There's little hidden buttons like that all throughout Serum. Same with the hyper and all that. So if you want to cut out the lows, you're going to want a high pass. You want to let the highs pass through. So we're going to do that modulation on the mix and also the high pass filter. And again, the order of these does make a difference. It's not necessarily, see, right now we're putting a phaser on a chorus signal. That's going to have a slightly different effect than if we put the reverb before this, or, so that's what I was saying earlier. Play around with these, the order of things and the way you put these in order, because it will change the effect that you have. It's going to change the overall effect of the macro. All right, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some distortion before everything. So we've got a real distorted, detuned saw wave. And you know what? I'm actually going to do some macro modulation on the detune knob itself so that it starts kind of more in the middle and spreads out as the knob moves. So you can see that. Yeah, you really hear it push out to the left and right and kind of disappear from the center. Don't want it fully gone in the middle, but it's the idea that we're going for here. So as we increase everything else, we're also going to increase the drive with some tube distortion. See what it sounds like now. Ooh, okay, well, we got a lot of low end coming in here. So I'm just going to put a high pass on an EQ8 after Serum. Right there. So we don't want to eliminate that fundamental frequency that we start on. And I'll just make MIDI clip 8 bars long. Get this to go all the way. And then we're just going to take that macro knob in Serum, click on it, go back, and modulate it. And let's see what we got here. All right, yeah, we're kind of getting somewhere here. So depending on if you want the tail, if you want to leave it, the reverb going or not, that's going to depend on how you structure this, how you order your effects, and what happens when you turn that macro knob. But today I'm just going to do a hard volume cut right here after the very end. Generally, these tend to come to a pretty hard stop. And I'm also going to automate some more low cut to cut some more lows out of the low end as the pitch of the riser increases. Woo. All right. Well, that's one way again to make yeah. Yeah. All right, cool. So again, that's one way to make a tonal riser out of Serum using a macro knob. Change up the order of those things. You don't necessarily have to do that with a macro. You could do similar things with an envelope, a LFO. So take this process, break it down, try it in different orders, and hopefully you like the results you get. Well, I hope you like this video. Stay tuned for more tutorials in the future, and we'll see you next time.